Alright, so this is clinching up at Pettonpung Gym in Mae Rim in Chiang Mai. And I'm clinching with Pet Lia. She's about 13, maybe turned 14 by now. She just put me down. That's her mom clapping on the side. She has that thing on her head because she has a headache. It's like a menthol patch. But she just put me down, so I had to get her back. And it's kind of hard. She doesn't like it. But Pet Lia is like kind of a phenom up in Chiang Mai. She has over 40 fights and has only lost maybe 4 of them or something. She's a little bit bigger than me. I think she walks around at maybe like 52. But she fights a lot of the same fighters I do. And she is also a knee fighter who clinches really well. So when I'm up in Chiang Mai for a fight, I like to come by the Pettonpung Gym and work with her a little bit, because when you're learning how to clinch, you have to clinch with people who know what they're doing. And a lot of women don't know how to clinch. So Pettonpung being an all-female gym, Pet Lia is kind of like a shark in the guppy tank. So for her to go against someone who has different skills from a different gym helps you grow a lot. If you're always working with the same people, you kind of get used to each other. And so kind of stirring the pot and dealing with people who have different skills is always very helpful to you. So here I'm just trying to get my lock on her and move her around a little bit. And when I watch this, I can see what she does that she is used to having work. And because I'm from a different gym and different skill set, it does not work. So here I'm trying to teach her the lock again, where you put the blade of the arm in the back of the neck. And she has her hands reversed, so it doesn't quite work. But she has beautiful knees. Look at her go up on her toes. And when she knees, it's like a picture book. Perfect technique. It's so pretty.
On the inside.
But so here we're trying to correct that she had the opposite hand. So you have to put the arm across, and then the arm that's pulling has to go behind that wrist so that you can pull it like a crank. And then you tuck your head in so that you pinch from the front and from the back. It's very painful when you get it right. So here I'm just trying to control her arm while she's doing the lock to put a little bit more pressure on it so that she has to work for it a little bit harder because she was starting to get it. You can see how wide she keeps her legs. Nice. That beautiful knee coming up. But you can see she moves to different positions, like she isn't comfortable where she is, so she starts the face smush. She'll change angles. That knee coming up to the side, I think she lands that on her way in all the time. It's very long and high. Gets you right in the ribs. But see how she swims over and around my arms to change position? That's really good. She catches herself really well. That pullback is what I'm trying to work on. It works really well when I do it. You can see she's not used to it. But so you just do these small jerks so that you're not only using strength, because you tire yourself out. And because she's bigger than me, using smaller movements like that is how I can move her. Her mom is making sounds on the side because I don't think she ever sees Pet Lia get put down by anybody. Her mom really likes me, which is cool. Pet Lia is only 13 or 14, so she's not super amped to work with me all the time, but her trainer and her mom know how important it is for her, and she goes hard against me now, which is great. It means that she knows she can get stuff out of it too, that she definitely works hard when we clinch together. She's competitive, which is really cool. She's trying to put me down there. So here you can see that we've kind of slowed down a little bit in figuring out how to close distance on each other. There, she probably does that really well in fights, just throwing me down. But you can see how she's used to scoring. So there I just twisted her to the side to put her down. That's a foot position. She keeps her legs really wide, so I don't think she gets turned very often. But there, I turn her on her knee, which I don't think anybody does. She catches herself really well. Here she's a little bit too long on that, which is how I'm able to get out of it. She didn't have the strength that she needed. But you can see how she positions her hands behind my head. One, she never clinches with gloves on unless she's in a fight. But two, her lock is not her main weapon. I lock as my thing. She just kind of gets a good enough lock and throws those really beautiful knees. So our styles against each other are forcing us to try different things. She just took a bracelet off there. But when she comes in, her position of how she puts her head down and kind of hollows out the center of herself, that's a really beautiful clinch position. It's actually quite advanced. You don't see a lot of women do it. And so here I'm just using my lock, and she's trying to negate it by going low, and it works. And here she's getting a little more aggressive the way that she's coming in, but her knees stay really consistent, and I've seen her do these knees on the bag, and they're gorgeous. They come out like first like a chicken wing, and then they come in with just the tip of her knee. They look so powerful and painful. If she were jumping on them, we're going pretty light here.
At the bounce movement.
There, I'm just tangling up her legs. And Kevin is telling me to start bouncing, which is another one of my techniques that you don't see a lot in a lot of fighters. But I'm not doing it yet. So basically when you want to change position, you start hopping like what I'm doing right there. And it hides the motion that you're trying to do so people can't anticipate your knee as well. But it also jerks the head, which takes their power out, so you can change position much easier. She's not used to it and does not like it. But it works, especially against larger opponents when you can't use strength only. She's got a nice lean back on that knee, so as people are coming in, you just stab them with that knee. And now her trainer, Kunyai, he's starting to talk to her about what he wants her to do. That girl next to him is Nong Oi. I clinched with her as well. She and Phetlilaa are like best friends at the gym. When I look at their Facebook pages, they're always together. So here we each have a lock, but you can see how I deal with the lock differently than she does, because she's used to locking and kneeing, and it's just a good enough lock to do those knees, whereas mine is more effective as a lock.
Yeah.
So that was the end of our clinching there. And then here is Nong Oi, who you just saw watching from the side. And she's a little bit bigger than Phetlilaa, but she's not, as far as I know, a clinch specialist. So she does know clinch, and she was working on the same things over and over again that seemed to be her style. But she was easier to turn than Phetlilaa. She doesn't keep her feet as wide. So here I'm trying to teach her how to go higher up on the head and to put the elbow into the shoulder. That's how you really control. Otherwise, you're yanking on the neck and making yourself tired and not making a lot of leeway. So if you put the elbow into the shoulder, you can bend the head down with just one arm without using so much power. It's just the pain of the elbow in the shoulder. People will kind of follow it to take that pain away. And you can see she started putting her hands up higher. Like, she knows that and just needed the reminder of it. I tell people to do it, and then I myself don't do it. So it's a good reminder. And then what I'm doing is just putting my hand on my head as like a block so that she can't grab around my neck as easily. And here I'm putting the lock on her and pulling so that she can't find her balance to knee. And she's kind of tall, so I kind of have to come up really high in order to get that grip around her neck. And if we were going a little bit harder, I'd be yanking her down, but turning her there instead. If you knee on top of that, it's a much better point. So you can see she knows how to swim, but when she gets her arms stuck, she didn't know what to do next until she started pushing on my face, but she doesn't do it all as one motion. So here she's trying to deal with the lock, but she can't quite swim in. And what I would suggest you do when you can't swim in like that is just keep throwing the knees to force someone to change their position or guard against the knees, and then you can change your position. There's Phetlilaa filming us. There weren't very many girls at the gym on this day, so I just worked with these two.
Show her.
So here I'm showing her how to just use the instep of your foot, and you pull someone around the side. When she was doing it, she was emphasizing pushing with her foot too much and not pulling as much. You really just use your foot as a doorstop and then pull the person over it. The pull is more important than the foot. And she was doing the opposite of that. So here I'm trying to show her how to pull down towards her own hip, and that made the angle and the leverage of it much stronger. So here I'm trying to control her arms a little bit more. And she was good. When she saw that she couldn't come to the inside, she went to the outside to push on my face. A lot of people get frustrated when they can't get their arm in, and they just keep trying to get their arm in. If you can't force your way in, go to a different angle, which is what she did, which is really good. It's especially hard with gloves because you can't stuff a glove into a very small space, so you need to change that angle if it's not working. There, she swims in pretty good. With a glove, that would be harder. But when she locks up, she doesn't keep moving. So that's when you force someone who's not used to locking to lock, they become very still, which is something that's probably frustrating to clinch with me because I force people to lock because I lock. So here I'm using the Dracula guard to kind of block as I come in. I'm just working on my entrance. And I'm controlling her left arm with my right hand, and she can't get into the position that she's comfortable in. So controlling people's arms can totally spin their mind off on not being able to get to the position they want. And they just kind of get stuck doing something they're not used to. So here now I'm trying to show her the lock and how you have to use your head. It's using your head in clinch, like literally using your head in clinch, is a huge difference. I'm explaining how if someone is totally upright, they have all their strength. But if you put their head even slightly off center, it takes away their power, and they can't knee as hard, they can't resist your pulling as hard. You just need to get the head slightly off angle, and you can do that very easily with your own head pressing into them. So there, her stance is getting a little bit wider, and she's handling the turns better. And she's getting higher up on my head, which is giving her better leverage. See how she catches herself? That's from following what I'm doing. The way Diesel Noi explained it is it's like waltzing. You just follow where people are pulling you, and you won't get pulled down. It's in resisting and becoming very stiff that you end up getting thrown. So relaxing in clinch is a very, very big thing. And when people are first starting out, they kind of panic and try to muscle everything. And if you're going against someone who has skills, that's the worst thing you can possibly do is be tense. So you need to work on relaxing and using bursts of strength. But mostly you just want to be relaxed. So there, her hands are coming down to my neck again, so she doesn't have quite as much strength. And when she pushes on my face, that technically should work 80% of the time, but she's not pushing all as one burst. She's pushing a little bit, and when I resist it, she stalls, which is good for me. It means I can stay and keep kneeing from where I am. So when you push someone's face, you want it to be like a pool stick. You just jam it in their face and move quickly, not a slow push. And that's how I'm able to turn her there, is that she's trying to push on my face. And so she's elongated. And when someone is long, it's easier to turn them. So here I'm showing her something that I learned from Dee at my gym, which is that you hook but it's kind of a fake hook. Like, you don't have to put a lot of power into it. You don't anticipate really hurting them. You're just trying to get them to guard, and then you throw the opposite side knee. So you're throwing that hook to get them to concentrate up top, and then you throw the opposite side knee. It works like 95% of the time. And Dee taught it to me, and I know he's going to do it, and it still works. And so then I'm telling her to grab off of it. So you don't just throw the knee and then stand there. Master K would always say, don't stand and sing a song. So this is Kunyai, the owner of the gym, showing up. So you always want to grab off of your knees because you kind of hit someone and stun them, and then you just want to grab right away. And so I pulled a little bit on that turn. You could see that the emphasis of it was on the second part of the turn rather than the first part. And that flips her a little bit wider. It's harder for her to catch her balance on that tail end of it rather than if the power is on the front end of it. She's so cute the way she smiles every time I put her on the ground. But see, she's starting to put her head in more, which is really good. And I'm teaching her how to do these small jerks. The sound effect I use is bop bop, so you'll hear me do it. But basically you do these small jerks to move people instead of yanking or pulling in a consistent way. And it saves energy, but also someone can resist a single pull. But when you do two small ones, it's much harder. Bop bop. So that's the small, two little jerks instead of one big one. And there, she pulls on the second, which is really good. She could make them even smaller than that. And she's starting to. She's starting to do the little, like, jerk on it. Yeah. That's really, really hard to resist. And the same thing of what I was saying before, of how if you're really tense, it's actually better for the person. If you do two little jerks, they're going to tense off of the first one, and then the second one is more effective because they're tense. There, she did what I taught her with the hook and the knee for her entrance. And here she's starting to kind of control my arm a little bit more, which she wasn't doing before. But she's clinching faster now than she was before, which is actually much harder to deal with, people who move all the time. So there, the way that she's gripping her hands, if she reversed that so that her other hand was pulling rather than them just locking behind, she would have a better grip on me. That's how I'm able to take her back, is popping her over because she doesn't have a full lock. So there, she's turning really nice. You can see how wide she brings that foot as she's turning. That's really good for leverage, and it's really good to throw that knee, the leg that comes back, you throw that knee afterwards. But there you can see she's doing the smaller pulls, and it's actually moving me much more than it was before when she was trying to do the bigger pulls. So now her trainer is telling her to control my arm more. You have to go to the inside of the elbow. You want to go to joints more than anything. If you put your arm on someone's bicep, you don't have a lot of leverage to move them, but if you go on a joint, usually the inside of the elbow is your best bet. You can steer people like a giant wheel. There, she's coming in with that same thing. She really liked that left hook, right knee thing. So the way I'm holding my hands right now, if I put my wrist against my wrist, it would be a much better lock. Doing hand to hand is not that great. There, I'm trying to get around her and I can't quite. So here, this is when someone is coming in trying to get the low clinch. You want to kind of squat down and grab again on the inside of the elbows. I learned this from Pidang at Lana Muay Thai. And then because you're kind of squatting down, your leg is already back, so you can throw a straight knee before they're expecting it. She's starting to get much better turns now because she's actually turning from my neck and my inside of my elbow. which I can't resist as well. That was just from her foot being at the center of my feet. So here I'm trying to show her how to steer, and that when you're wearing gloves you can't grab, so you really just want to use like the blade of your hand inside the glove and make like a little hook, and then you just go to the inside of the elbows and you can steer like a big wheel. See how I do it where one arm goes up and one goes down? She pushes, so she does one arm back, which does move someone, but if you steer kind of at an angle like a ship's wheel, so that one goes up as the other goes down, you can turn people much harder. So there I'm pulling her head down towards my hip, which is why I get a better turn on her than when she's trying to do it with me. See how her head comes down towards my hip? Pulling at an angle rather than like in a circle. And there I'm just stopping her from getting in by using my elbow, because I've got it up behind her neck, and then I just pinch my elbow in so that she can't swim in. And then she doesn't have a lock and I do, which is why I can keep moving her and kind of stop her from being able to find the position that she wants. And there I'm pushing her arm up. So here I'm showing her that when someone has, they call the double plumb on the back of your head, if you put your hips back, you're totally screwed. What you want to do is drive forward. So even if they've already got your head pulled down from this position, if you charge forward and bring your hips in at the same time, you can totally get out of that position. You really never want to go backwards and clinch unless you're yanking someone backwards, like dragging them back. There, see, she's just kind of rushing towards me and I can't do anything. So you dive forward and bring your hips up as your head comes up. So it's almost like a dolphin scoop up or something. Now I'm starting to be a jerk and making her chase me a little bit. So here I'm showing her that turn that I just did, which is, I call it the Elvis hip. I learned this from Natalie Foos in New York. But you basically take your knee, and you do not knee the person's leg. You just pop your hip forward and push the leg. Yodwicha is amazing at it. He does it actually kind of the way she's doing it, which is pushing the leg straight back. I do it to the side and then pull the head. But look at how my leg, when she does it, my leg goes straight back, is because she's angling it that way. And then I taught her to kind of pull my head down closer to her own hip. But look at that. It's like if you like flipped a spoon or something. She's so sweet. Nong Oil is really sweet.